en las clases que yo he estado con mi hija, en las que he escuchado, se sale un poco fuera de lo cotidiano, lo hacen muy dinámico y ella habla ya como apropiándose del tema sin necesidad de tener una lectura de me toca leer, estudiar, sino ya le entra la información porque lo hacen de una manera muy didáctica y eso que es en línea.
Con Genuine Digital School, tu hijo llegará lejos a partir de aquello que lo apasiona. Regístrate para recibir más información.
A veces, todo lo que se requiere es la inspiración correcta.
Buscando inspiração, nos encontramos com vocês.
Our dear Genuine families.
Ustedes, familias, nos inspiran para brindar una metodología de enseñanza disruptiva que emociona, engancha y eleva a cada estudiante a la cima del conocimiento.
Vocês são
la inspiración para seguir adelante.
En Genuine nos apasiona enseñar a nuestros estudiantes.
Pero antes que nada, aprender de ellos y sus familias.
Ustedes son únicos y genuinos.
Somos un colegio que busca estar en constante transformación. Queremos estar a la vanguardia de las tendencias tecnológicas, pero sobre todo, acompañar a las nuevas generaciones a hacer realidad sus sueños y crecer juntos.
Las generaciones de niños y jóvenes alrededor del mundo requieren habilidades y competencias para enfrentar un mundo globalizado lleno de desafíos.
Nuestra familia Genuine crece alrededor del mundo, se hace más grande y más fuerte, traspasa fronteras, conectando mentes y corazones a través de experiencias.
Estamos a un clic de distancia. Podrás llevarnos en tu casa, en tu carro, en tu bolsillo y en tu corazón.
Genuine Digital School es más.
Más tiempo para tu familia.
Más tiempo para estar en casa.
Más tiempo para aprender.
Más tiempo para soñar y crecer.
Más tiempo para ti.
En Genuine creemos que siempre puedes imaginar más.
Hacer más.
Ser más.
Não somos uma escola, somos a casa digital que estará sempre por perto.
It provides you with education, love and support in every step of the way.
Listo, estamos al aire.
¿Únete? ¿Qué? Okay. There we go. Okay. So, I think that the students are in already. So, welcome everyone. And well, welcome students, teachers, and families that are looking at this meeting live. We are very excited today with this edition. We are thrilled to present or introduce our guest today, which is Natalia De Moya. She is a very special guest. And well, today, this session is titled The Multifaceted Nature of a 21st Century Female Scientist. And well, in this session, you have the privilege of learning about Natalia's life journey, her motivations, why she chose her career in science, as well as her achievements, and maybe as well some challenges that she has faced. So get ready to start with this meeting live. And Natalia, thank you very much for joining us today. We are very eager to listen to your insights and your experiences in the as a scientist.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Carla and Ms. Diana, for your invitation. I'm very happy to be here sharing with you briefly what is my experience as a scientist in this 21st century, not only as a scientist, but also as a woman, because when I was younger, I used to believe that science was for older people and mostly men. So being a woman and being part of this science journey is a privilege to me. And I want to open an invitation to all of you guys that are with a lot of curiosity and you guys wonder about the world that is surrounding you. And science has a spot for all of us. Believe me, it has a spot for all of us. And there are a lot of different disciplines that we can address from the scientific method. So I hope you enjoy this space with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Natalia. And well, I would like to know, and probably everyone in this meeting as well would like to know a little bit about yourself. So can you tell us about, well, I know that you will be talking about arácnidos and your scientific journey, but what sparkled your interest in science? Can you tell us about that?
Science, that is also in my presentation that I prepared for you.
Great.
But it was a class when I was in 9th grade at school. I realized that this is what I wanted to do the rest of my life. So there was a teacher that was so important, and he didn't even know the way that he changed my life, because he introduced me to a world that was unknown to me, like new perspectives, new ways to analyze the nature surrounding us. So it was a breaking point in my life history, and which I decided to start with a science and not other career.
Thank
so
you
let me
very
know
much.
once the presentation, and I
You
will
can
share
go
with
ahead,
you.
please.
Wait,
We are
okay,
very
my bad.
eager to listen to what you have to say to us, so go ahead. It's okay.
Okay, so once again, thank you so much for having me here. So I'm going to be presenting this short lecture, sharing with you everything that I've done with my career in science. But also, the most important thing is that I want that you guys with me, we are able to take down all of the myths that they may be behind of science, like science is for being inside of the laboratory, science is for wearing the coat all the time, science is for older people, science is mostly for men. No, let's try to break all of those things down together so you can feel that you can find your spot in the world of science. So to start, we need to know what is science. So I'm bringing you here three different definitions from very, very popular and important portals that are NASA, the Science Council, and a dictionary, and I chose Oxford. So those three definitions make a difference among each other, but they do share some characteristics, and they all include observing. So that's the most important thing. You have to be curious enough to take the time to observe what's happening in your surroundings. What happens with the clouds, what happens with the rain, what happens with the animals, what happens with the plants. And in that way, observing, you guys are going to be able to evidence the change, maybe in the seasons, maybe in the temperature. Whatever caught your attention, it's going to be a good starting point, okay? So you need to find something that sparkles your curiosity and work for it. They also share these three definitions that we need to follow a methodology or a method. And of course, I'm sure you guys have listened about the scientific method before, and that's true. That's something that we have to follow because science starts with curiosity, but then it needs to be very rigorous. Okay, we need to follow some steps so we can have a successful research. However, none of these definitions that are very good and excellent define the way that I see science. So I decided to bring you guys my own definition. It's in Spanish because I'm Colombian, and I feel that in my mother language is like easier to me. So, la ciencia es el estudio del universo y la naturaleza, impulsado por la curiosidad y orientada por la rigurosidad de un método. That's the way that Natalia De Moya defines what science is. Okay, now in this section over here, we see that natural science can be divided in many, many different branches, but we have three main: earth science, life science, and physical science, okay? And each of them, at the same time, has different branches. So a scientist needs to cover all of this to be considered a scientist? Of course, no, because we have no time in this planet Earth to study geology, environmental science, marine biology, meteorology. There's no way that we can do that. So that's why we choose like a special focus, and we follow it during the whole career that we are developing. Nonetheless, there are cases in which we need to interact with other colleagues, or we need to study from other disciplines of science, other branches of science, so we can complete our research. For example, in my particular case, I start with zoology because I study animals. I'm going to talk to you about it in a while. I study animals, but then I realized that what caught my attention the most about animals is the ecology of them, how they interact, how they behave, what are the ecology patterns that they need to follow. So I combine zoology and ecology. But when I'm studying ecology, I need to study where they are standing, what are the substrates that they are using. So that's why geology helps me a lot. So I need to talk with geologists so they can explain me the patterns in which the Earth has reached this configuration that it has right now. And in any example that you guys want to choose, you will realize that science is based on interactions. So we need to work together. Okay? Now, this is a classification, a classical one. However, as you can see here, this is from the Google Scholar portal. We still are figuring out how the branches of science are, because all of them are related. So in 1982, there was a paper asking if chemistry was a branch of physics. But in 2017, another author published a new article talking about 150 branches of geology. That means that this branch of earth science is divided in 150 more. They also said that social science are also part of biology. And I want you to understand science as a living thing, okay? It is evolving all the time. It is being born, different disciplines according to the technological developments that we reach. And the most important of this is that scientists will always use and produce reliable sources, okay? So the sources that we use for consulting, for creating new information, has to be from reliable sources. But now, who is this person that is talking to me about science? What do you know about science? Well, let me introduce myself. As I told you at the beginning, I want you to forget this idea of a scientist being inside of laboratory 24/7, always with the lab coat. No, we're normal people that we do regular things like any other person. So my name is Natalia De Moya. I'm a biologist, as you can see here. This was a field trip for my master's degree. I was in the tropical dry forest in Colombia there. I'm also a master's student. I'm pursuing my degree as master in biology. But I'm also a science teacher. This is me right here in the middle of my incredible students. I encourage them to believe that they are incredible all the time. That's why we decide that we're gonna wear the Incredibles t-shirt for the class. I'm also a Bad Bunny fan. I'm a daughter, those are my parents. I'm a sister, I'm a friend. So there are different faces of me. There is not only science, I'm a regular person. So be sure that if you choose to pursue a career in science, you have opportunities and chances to be many at the same time. So how my science journey start? As I was answering before to your teacher, it starts in 9th grade. So I decided to show you this as a timeline, okay? So I started in 9th grade with my teacher. His name was Rafael. Show me genetics. I didn't know anything about it, but when I realized the way in that the traits are in different generations, I realized that that is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And you may be thinking, Natalia, you just told me that you work with animals, that you are a zoologist and ecologist. You have nothing to do with genetics. And that's true. That's sadly true. I told you that science is a living thing that is always changing. So when I started my freshman at college, I was a very disappointed student because I realized that the offer that my school had in terms of genetic fields and genetic studies wasn't pleasant, wasn't what I was expecting. So I was really sad and really confused, but it didn't stop me. I still wanted to pursue a career on science, so I had to choose another discipline to study. And that's why in my second year, I discovered the world of zoology, in particular the invertebrate zoology. Okay, and when I find out that this animal from Harry Potter, because I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, I'm a Potterhead, wasn't a magical animal, but was a real one, I said, this is what I want to study. I definitely want to study the animal that is attacking Ron Weasley in that particular scene. So I said, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to be doing the rest of my life. Okay, and it was also in that year that I had the chance to hold a harvestmen for the first time. The animals from slide number 1 are harvestmen, and those are my study object. All of my research has to do with them. And the approach that I give to harvestmen change in different investigations that I've done before. In my third year, I discovered the tropical dry forest. And I realized that in Colombia and in many parts of the world, we are almost running out of tropical dry forest because of human actions. We are using the space for growing crops or for having different animals that we use for eating, like cows and cattle in general. And guess what? Harvestmen, they live here in tropical dry forest. Therefore, if there is no tropical dry forest, they won't be harvestmen. So I was really concerned because in the area where I live, the most dominant ecosystem is tropical dry forest. And with my eyes, I can see how the forest is being deforested and destroyed. And I never had the chance to study the species that were there. So I realized that I need to work really hard in order to provide scientific evidence and so that the stakeholders can make decisions to protect the tropical dry forest and therefore protect my beloved animals. Then I had my graduation and I studied in my last research at school, the ecology patterns of harvestmen in Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta. So I realized when I was in that mountain that the species of animals change with altitude. The species that we have in the bottom part of the mountain are not the same as the one that we have on top. And I was asking why. So I decided to make this research and I realized that the environmental factors affect a lot my animals. So that's why I need to understand the weather patterns, the temperature, the humidity of both the soil and room and moisture, because it was important for me to understand what was determining the existence of some species in a given area. When I graduated college, I got a project with the European Union where they invited me to work under a different perspective of these animals. It wasn't ecology anymore, it was taxonomy. And taxonomy is the science of organizing and naming the species, okay? So I had to visit different collections, like in museums of natural history that we have in Colombia, and I had to identify what are the bugs that we have there. That was my task. It was a 2 years project, and I'm gonna be talking about that a little bit later. And finally, what I'm doing right now is finishing my master, and I'm working with interaction ecology networks. That's what I am doing right now. Now, I told you that here in my second year, I discovered invertebrates, including arácnids. So when I think about arácnids, I always think about Spider-Man, okay? So look at him, this is our superhero, and he has some characteristics like he produced silk, so he can move in the different buildings of New York City. But I want you to analyze this Spider-Man under the scientific lens with the characteristics that I'm going to show you. All the arácnids, according to biologists, they have the body divided into sections. I don't think Spider-Man has the body divided into sections because he has a head, the trunk, and the legs and arms. So he doesn't match this definition. Arácnids, they do not have antennae, no tienen antenitas, como si lo tienen los insectos. So butterflies, ants, they do have it. But arácnids, they don't. Arácnids, they don't fly because they don't have wings, okay? And finally, they have 8 walking appendage. He doesn't have 8 legs, so he is definitely not an arácnid. Then, what is an arácnid and how does they look like? They are way more than spiders. In Spanish, arácnido and araña sounds really similar. In English, it's spider. It doesn't sound that similar, but in Spanish, most of us, we consider that arácnids are only spiders. However, we have a huge diversity of arácnids. All of them share these characteristics, but as you can see, they are very different with each other. So our little Spider-Man, it's only representing the spiders, but we also have scorpions that I'm sure you guys have listened about scorpions before. Agari, I'm allergic to them, so working with them was impossible for me. We have false scorpions. We have harvestmen that are the ones that I work with. This is the one from Harry Potter, an amblypygi. This is a real animal. I was so fascinated when I found out that it wasn't a creation from J.K. Rowling, but it was a real animal. And these are the ones that I study. Daddy longlegs, as they are called, or opiliones, or harvestmen. They have 3 different names. We are going to be talking about them a little bit more, okay? To analyze how they are different from the rest of the arácnids. So, why is it important to study arácnids? Because you may be thinking, Natalia, is it really important to study pseudoscorpiones that are so small? Because they are really small. But yeah, studying this group of animals is really important, and I'm going to show you why. First of all, we all know that some spiders, and listen, most of the spiders are not harmful for humans, but some of them, they may be dangerous. So we need to study what are the species that may be a poison and what are the species that may cause diseases for humans, so we can prevent, and in case that they happen, we know how to cure them. They are also, it's important to study them because they are part of the diet in some cultures. Some part of the world, they eat arácnids. In Colombia, we don't, but in some parts, they do. In Colombia, we eat ants, hormiguitas. They are also important because in natural ecosystems, they control their prey because they are predators, active predators. So they are able to consume other animals, and they are a very important part of the food chain and the food webs that we have. And finally, their last role is very important because when they walk, they break down the little leaves that they walk in, and that is an important process because it returns the nutrients to the soil, and the cycle repeats all over. So that is very important to study arácnids. Back to opiliones, my study group, I want you to look at them. They are in the class of arácnids. The order is opiliones, but they do not produce silk. They do not produce poison. They only have 2 eyes, and the 2 body sections are joined. As you can see, we have a body section here where we see the 2 eyes, and we have the other body section here, but we don't see a big difference between the head and the rest of the body. And those characteristics are called synapomorphes, okay? So those are characters that are for a single group. In this case, these are the synapomorphes of opiliones. On the other hand, if we want to compare with another arácnid, I chose the spiders. I think that it's clear that the 2 body sections are well defined in here. This is section number 1, and this is section number 2. That is a big difference between them. That's why the both body sections joined is a synapomorphy of my group. But then I want you to notice that they do share some characteristics. They both are arácnids, but now when we talk about the order, this is opiliones and this is arane. They do have silk production, they do have poison. Most of the spiders have 8 eyes, some of them has 6, some of them has 2, and the body sections are well defined. Okay, so now you know how to make the differentiation between a spider and a harvestman. Okay, but now, what is exactly what I do? As I told you at the beginning of this presentation, we need to follow a scientific method, okay? So I decided to bring it to you with some examples. So the first thing that we have to do is observation. What is observation? It's just looking around in the nature. When I was in my undergraduate studies, I realized that there were different species in the bottom of the mountain from the top of the mountain because I was curious and I was looking around and I said, I haven't seen this bug before. And then I realized that I haven't seen them before because the species from other altitudes in the mountain are completely different. Then you have to ask questions. That is the most important part, asking questions. This is another example of a previous research that I've done. Why are there darker harvestmen in the top of the mountain and the ones at the bottom are lighter? The color also change, and that is an ecological question that we can address. Then you have to design a sampling method, and in here I'm bringing you some pictures This is one of the most effective sampling methods that it's called cernido de hojarasca. The idea is that you have to take all the leaves from the forest and you have to sift them, and then you take the final product and you check what are the bugs or the insects, in my case, that I have there. This is another sampling method. This is my friend Kevin, that it's called pitfall traps. You place this plastic cup at the level of the soil, so animals are walking around and then they fall down in this cup, and there is going to be a liquid made with water, alcohol, and detergent, and 24 hours later we go and check if we have some catch. This is my favorite. This is a manual sampling, and it consists in just walking around and picking everything you find that is interest to you. And an important thing is that my study group is nocturnal, so I only have to go out to the forest at night. This is my lamp, my best friend in the field. This is my friend Javier, and this is another technique that we use that it consists of beating the vegetation, and then with the hammer, this device is called hammer, we have to check if we have some animals there. Then we have the field trip time. That is my favorite part. I love being on field. And sometimes it looks like this. Sometimes field trips looks like this. Sometimes they look like this in this really old Toyota. And sometimes it looks like this. So we have different ways to reach the field trips. And it's really interesting to do that. And finally, we have the lab time. Once you collect everything from your field trip, you have to take them to the laboratory. You have to organize them on different jars with alcohol. And I'm not sure if you can see this label that we have right here, but we need to take notes of everything. Where did we catch them in one date? Under what methodology? How was the day? Was it rainy? Because those data are very important for answering the questions that you asked before. And finally, you just have to publish your final results in a reliable source, as I told you before. And this is an example of a paper of mine in a Colombian journal. So far, it looks good. It looks easy. It looks like this. But there are many things that people don't tell you about and that may generate some concern in your research. For example, when you design a sampling method, you have to ask yourself, how can I afford this research? Because they are not cheap, they are pretty expensive, and that's why you need to look for funding options. Maybe the government, maybe an institution, maybe a research department. You need to find out how to solve that. Then, are there safety issues to solve? Where I live in Colombia, some areas are very, very, very hard to go because of different social reasons. That's something that we need to consider. Then, when you are on the field trip, the weather can change suddenly and it starts raining, and you were not prepared for that, and it's awful. Or another issue that may happen is that no animals catch. You went to your field trip, you spent a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of time, but you catch nothing. And it's really frustrating, but it's something that happens. Then you have to cry on the tent. There is a lot of crying in this science process. And then it turns from this happy face to this face that is a little confusing, right? Then you're in the laboratory, but you have no keys to identify. You cry in the laboratory. The data that we collect, we have to run it in some softwares that we use, but they don't want to run. Ecology has a lot to do with numbers and programming. So if you want to pursue a career in science, pay attention to your math teacher a lot. Then you have to cry in your computer because it's not running. And then your change is going to face. And finally, you have to discuss with your director. You have to submit your draft to the journal and work on their feedback, because they provide some feedback, some changes that you have to do before publishing. You cry a little bit more, but then you celebrate your new publication. But I want you to notice how it changed from a really happy face to something that is very uncertain, because you don't know what are the issues that you're going to face, and each time they are different. Yet, we were able to overcome all of those difficulties. And in 2018, for my undergraduate research, I had the chance to participate and to win a small scholarship that was funding my academic research. So they were paying for my field trips, they were paying for the materials that I need, and like that, I solved this issue over here? How can I afford this research? Because I participate on an open call from this institution that is called Colombia Biodiversa, that is a national institution, and they award 4 students each year, and I was one of them. Then we won the European Union open call, and here I am, and it was a very interesting research, because each of us that are my colleagues, and some of them are my friends, work with different animals. So Kimberly, she works with Cerambicidae, that is a family of coleopteros. Miche here, he works with damselflies, and Jennifer works with mantidos. Kevin works with ants, hormiguitas. Carlos Mario works with spiders, and they both also work with coleoptera. So we had to visit different natural history museums here in Colombia, and we had to check what are the different animals that they have there. And at the end, it was a 2-year project. It was really long, but we were really happy because the outcomes were amazing. I mean, we discovered something that we were not expecting a lot, but they were really nice. This is us celebrating at the end. And now, what I'm doing right now is finishing my master in biology. This was my defense of my first results, and I'm analyzing in here how is that there are interactions between the species of harvestment, as you can see here. I have them in the bottom line, and on top of the interaction network, I have the different habitats where I can find them. In the ground, in the soil, vegetation, the reef, in the rocks, in trees, trunks, leaf litter. And I need to find why are some species that are more related to some habitats than others. That is my task in my master research. That's what I'm doing. And what's next? Next, in June, in 2 months, I have to be presenting in Bogotá, here in Colombia, my final research in el Congreso Latinoamericano de Arácnidos. It's going to be a very important and international event that I'm really excited. And hopefully I'm going to be graduating this year in August, I think. So that's what's coming next. But my biggest flex is not just, yeah, I'm a scientist and I have a lot of new species that I describe, and that's important, yeah. But what I like the most about science is that it has given me the chance to mix my 2 passions that are teaching science and doing science. These pictures that I'm bringing you here are very, very important to me because this is a student of mine. She's an 8th grader. And as you can see, she's very curious about the nature. And sometimes I take her to, not field trips because I can't take her out of school, but here in the school, we have a big eco campus and we're able to make some research here. So I'm teaching her and other students how to use the sampling techniques that I showed you before. And when I see that she's really interested on pursuing this career, on having a career in science, that is what makes me happy the most. And the second picture is a day that I had to work because I had classes to teach, but the same day in the night I was going to a field trip, so I had to take everything I need to my school, and my students were crazy. Miss, can we open your tent? Miss, can I sleep in your sleeping bag? Miss, no, of course you can't, but they were very excited about it. So having the blessed to mix my 2 passions is very special. This picture is when I catch a scorpion, and then I took this same scorpion to my school, and my students were able to analyze them. This is a group of colleagues that helped me to organize a workshop, like a crash course in arácnids, in where my students were able to go to the field to learn about them, to catch their own samples, and then come in here to the laboratory and identify them. All of this was in the school, and it fulfilled my heart with joy when I saw them. This girl, her name is Fiorella, she had never touched a spider before. She was scared of bugs, and look at her, smiling at the spider. She was amazed by it, and it's what I like the most, what I enjoy the most from my job. And this was me in my crash course of arachnology in my school. So yeah, that is basically what I'm doing. Those are the challenges that I faced, and the upcoming future seems very interesting to me. Thank you guys for listening to me. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you very much, Natalia. I absolutely love the pictures that you presented to us, and it's really, really cool that your students were able to interact with your study field and with those organisms, because it's not usual that in a school, well, in a presential school, that they are able to have that kind of experiences, and that you bring that to us. It's actually very, very, well, awesome to know about all what you have done and that you are still doing. I know that you were saying that you are going to be participating in a congress in just a couple of weeks. So we hope for you the best. And it would be very nice to hear some news about that then. So congratulations on all your experiences, all the awards that you have won until now. And well, as well, I know that you were talking about that you are passionate about research and passionate about teaching, and that you have brought both your passions into the same place, which is the classroom. So that is very nice. And I think that probably there is, or there are some students in our school that are as well interested in pursuing maybe a career like yours. What advice would you give them if they would aspire to something like what you have done until now?
Thank you so much for your words and for your question. My main advice is to stay curious. You need to always be wondering, be observing the nature, ask yourself questions. A teacher once told me that in science, the question is more important than the answer, because we can reach to the answer in some point. Maybe not you, maybe a colleague, maybe a friend, maybe in the future. But the most important is to ask the question, because that is going to guide your research. If you have a very strong and clear question, then you are able to develop a plan to answer those questions. So keep your mind open and keep your mind open, so you can change and shift from one discipline of science to another. Look, I wanted to start with genetics, and I do nothing related to that right now, but I'm really happy because I had an open mind, and the opportunities that we had, I just decided to take them. So yeah, be curious, ask questions, and keep an open mind.
Thank you very much. That is a really good advice for all our students. So, guys, even though we're talking about perhaps going out there and asking questions, remember, always in the classroom you can ask questions. And as well, because we're talking about asking and about wondering and getting those answers, we would like you to be able to ask as well, Natalia. So get ready for a round of questions, and we're going to be choosing some of the students. So if that is okay with you, Natalia, we have a lot of students with the hands raised, and I think that they would like to know a little bit about you. Maybe they have very good questions, and I think that they do. So let's see. We have in here Arthur. Would you like to ask Natalia?
Oh, yes, yes, I have a question. I have two questions.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Why are the harvestmen darker in great altitude and lighter color in low altitude?
In lower altitudes, that's an excellent question. You were paying attention to my presentation. Thank you so much. The answer is an ecological rule that is called Rappaport's rule. This man realized that in higher altitudes, we tend to have darker colors in animals, not only in arácnidos, but in animals in general, because they need to be able to catch all the sunlight as possible to keep them warm, okay? But in the bottom, since we have animals in here can be a bit lighter because they don't need to catch that much sunlight. So the reason is temperature. Temperature is affecting the color of different species.
Okay, thank you. And my second question. And the second question is, what do you think is the most interesting spider, not arachnid, spider?
The most interesting spider. As I told you, I'm a big Potterhead. I'm a fan of Harry Potter. And I don't know if you guys have watched the movies before because you're really young, but in movie number 6, Hagrid has a huge spider. He calls him Agromantula, and that is a real species. That is a real spider from family Lycosidae. That is the name, the scientific name of that spider. So just because that spider is in Harry Potter, I think it's the most interesting one.
Okay. And my last question.
We have 4 questions.
And what do scientists say when they discover something?
What do scientists say?
What do the scientists say when they discover something new?
Are you waiting for an eureka? No, well, I don't.
Yes, that's the word. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arthur.
My question.
Thank you very much, Arthur. Those were very great questions. Thank you very much. And let's see. So we also have in here other students. So Sophie Leal. Are you there, Sophie?
Hola. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, my question is,
Hi.
have you had an unusual experience with the spiders?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because I was in the field trip once at night. As I told you, my animals are only active at night. And that day, during the day, it was raining. So I saw this spider that it wasn't for me, it was for a friend. He told me, Nandi, if you see this species on the field trip, please bring it to me. And I was thinking about him as a good friend. And when I was about to catch the spider for my friend, it was a snake, a mapana, that is very poison, that eat the spider. And it could be my hand. So I was really concerned and I didn't go back. I just decided to go to my camping tent. I was scared and I didn't go back that night because it was close.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question, Sophie.
Thank you. And I think that would be very scary. If it was me, I would just run, and maybe cry.
I run to my camping tent. I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Sophie. And let's see. In here, Angelo Josue, would you like to ask Natalia something?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yes.
My question is that you are what inspired you to know more about the spiders and that,
Arácnidos in general. Okay, as I showed you my presentation, I entered to my college with one idea in mind that was studying genetics, but I didn't have to choose a study object before, because you can study genetics in spiders, in humans, in pigs, in butterflies, in whatever. But when I find out that the spiders from Harry Potter were not magical animals, but they were real, that was what makes me very interested about studying arachnids in general.
And what is the most rare spider or animal that you have studied?
The ones that I discovered, because where I go are really, really hard access areas, because you need to walk. I have to walk for 7 hours in a mountain to reach there, carrying all my bags and all the devices that I need for sampling. So not everybody wants to join me, so being there is really hard. And sometimes because of the social conflicts that we have in Colombia, some areas are not open to research. So when I get there, there are a lot of new species that I have studied. And to me, when I study something that nobody has studied before, that's very interesting to me. I mean, I'm the first person who's looking at those animals, who's touching them, who's describing them. That's interesting to me all the time.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelo.
Thank you, Angelo. That was a really great question, asking about what inspired you, and as well, weird insects. There are many weird insects and unique insects out there. So let's see. Because of the time, we're just gonna be selecting one more person, and the winner is Abril. So Abril, go ahead, please.
First, I want to say I'm so excited to be in this being life of the science. And I have one question to Natalia.
Okay.
My question is a so important question. Is why do we like so much spiders? Like spiders are scary and have so much legs. I have fear. I see the presentation. I jump over. I don't see the computer, and the spiders are so scary. Why do you like them so?
Okay, I'm gonna show you a slide that I showed you before. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing your screen.
Okay. I want you to check this out. I study arácnidos in general, but I focus in one particular group that it's called opiliones. And look at their characteristics. They have no silk, they have no poison, so there's no way that they can hurt me. Why do you think that I chose them over spiders? Because I'm sure that opiliones and harvestmen, they are not dangerous to me. I admire a lot my colleagues that work with spiders, the ones that work with scorpions. Oh my God, I really admire them. But I said, not for me. I'm going with the safe move. I'm going with these animals that I'm sure they are not going to harm me because they have no poison or anything else.
Yes.
That's what I do.
Why do you think that are? Yes, but they are so scary. Hurt you or not hurt you?
No, they're not scary. I have a video here. I wasn't able to put it in my presentation, but I have a video where I was in my resting time on a field trip. And when I woke up, I had this spider, una tarántula así de grande, walking in my arm. And I was like, hi, cutie, how are you? We even have them as pets in the laboratory and we feed them. So next week is your task to bring something so my spider can eat.
Yeah, you are so brave persons. The most of persons see a spider. If yes, much persons see a spider and run out and yelling, spider!
That. I was really calm that day that I woke up with a spider walking in my arm because I know that spider wasn't dangerous to me. When you know something, you can feel safe. But out of the unknown, the things that you are not aware of, it's where the fear begins. And when we are scared, we push away the animal, we may kill the animal, and we don't know the huge impact that we're causing in the ecosystem. That's why the understanding or the knowledge of the environment that surrounds us, it's going to give us a lot of calm, and we can decide out of knowledge and not out of fear. So that was a very important question, Ali.
Yes, it's a very important question. The normal persons see a spider, they grab the shoes and kill the spider.
No,
yes,
it's normal person to me. But yes, now you know
persons kill the spiders. Some spiders are cute and some are not cute, like a spider going from the roof to you, and it's not like saying hi. It's like saying that the spiders, I don't know. I'm in Colombia, and in Colombia the Amazonas and have so many dangerous spiders.
I can't wait to go to Amazonas.
So interesting. Your work is interesting. It's the first being life that has science. The most being life has entrepreneurship, blah, and like the deportes and another thing. The first being life with science that I'm going.
Thank you, Abril.
Thank you very much, Abril. Thank you. And As well as you mentioned, I think that many people think about arachnids and spiders in specific as something scary. But as Natalia showed us today, they are very interesting organisms that if you're interested in them, you can investigate a lot more. And as well as she has shown us, there's a lot out there in the science field. You can pursue that field if you wish to, guys. And remember that there's a lot of areas or disciplines that you can focus on. So I hope that you, or we hope that you enjoyed this beating life as much as we did. I definitely did. So I want to thank you all, guys. All our students, our teachers, our staff, all the families that are watching this beating life for joining us today. This participation, Natalia, it was very special for us. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, your expertise with all of us in our school. And well, guys, let's continue and celebrate the Science Week as well as all the contributions that, well, Natalia showed to us and she has inspired to us as well. So, guys, continue being curious, continue exploring out there. Thank you very much once again, Natalia, for joining us. And thank you very much, guys, for as well being here.
No, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, guys. So, guys, students, thank you very much for your participation. Remember that you have a break right now, so have your break and then you can go to your next class. And hopefully you will continue enjoying this Science Week. Thank you very much, Natalia.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a wonderful day.